was cold.
You obviously didn't want a blanket. You didn't grab it.
By the way.
70. That's more than reasonable.
You
didn't even want a blanket.
Deanna, nobody
You did not want a blanket. You did not want it till I had it. You did not
Shari,
think about it.
I wasn't thinking about it because you had it. I started getting cold.
Mom, no, it's prime example of you saw me with it and now all of a sudden.
So now you're in my head.
This is not a drill, this is how I feel. Pop champagne, I'ma do it for the thrill. Escape with me, I'm saying it maybe. We could take off and then land on a jet ski. Baby, I'll hold you tight. Top shelf with it.
See, I told you, she just wants us to start when we're ready.
Okay, so then let's go. I'm Shari. Go ahead.
I'm gonna get you. And I'm Rachel.
And this is So Tell Me This. I'm looking into the wrong camera. I was looking right here because this is my type
Get
shot.
it together, calibrate. This all has to do with you in this road rage situation.
Because I was going to say, so I wanted to tell a story because this is how it started. I remember how it started. I don't know if you remember how the conversation started. She was holding up her, are we allowed to hold a middle finger? Yeah. Okay.
I was talking about there's a difference between a middle finger that's
with
like
the thumb up and the thumb down.
Yeah, you know, where you kind of...
And the fingers being up versus
fingers
like
being up.
all smushed down.
All smushed down is not as strong as fingers being up to me.
All smushed down is
this
stronger.
Right here is like directed. This right here is like kind of
this is funny and this is what people do in pictures. This is disrespectful. If somebody gives you...
Wait a minute.
Did you see the difference?
This is a whole... No, I just never knew there was a difference between...
I feel like that's very different.
I mean, I want to hear from our team.
Because people will do pictures like, but people don't do
Well, Deanna, what do you think?
I think there's a socioeconomic divide. I think this one is like, F you, buddy.
This one is black. This one is not black. I'm not lying.
Okay.
But anyway, she was doing that, and then I told her, I said, and I regret not doing that to that guy because I'll put it this way.
And I had a problem with her. First of all, I was on the phone with her when it was happening.
I'll say this, and I'm going to tell the story. I agree with you, and I think you're right. But I think when I thought through it, that I said sometimes...
Let's back up and tell them what happened. That way they can relate to everything else.
I'm on the way to their house, right? Mind you, the guy who this story is in reference to, he was nice to me earlier on the road. He let me in when no one else did.
He was nice to you.
Right. I'm making a left. I'm at a stop sign and I'm making a left, which means I have to look at both sides of traffic coming, which means the people who behind me can't see anything.
Let me add this. This left is a weird left because it's kind of on an incline. It's on an incline, so if you're behind, you can't really see what's going on to the left and to the right.
You can't see
like the first person can.
You wouldn't know. He gives me like a hunk, like a exasperated hunk, because there's like a boop, like to get somebody's attention, and there's like a like go. I'm literally, as I'm making the left turn finally, because it's clear, I'm looking over my shoulder like, what was that about? So then we're going.
No, so then I'm asking her, why aren't you driving? She's like, I'm waiting for him to drive by so I can look at him.
Oh, no. She said, you said, why? You said, what are you looking at? I said, I'm looking at that guy. You were like, why? I said, he just hunked me for no reason. Like, he, like, very exasperated. I'm protecting us. There's cars coming that he cannot see.
Who's us?
Everybody behind me. That's my thing.
How are you protecting
Because
them?
I'm like, I'm not about to cause an accident and now everybody's in trouble and now there's a collision nobody can get through. I can see who's coming. So don't be honking me. Gotcha. You don't even have the field of vision. You don't even have the vision. So she's like, well, what are you looking at? And I said, well, I'm getting ready to look at that guy. So then I'm in.
You see how she said that?
Because.
Like she about to get out the car and fight.
So I'm at
Girl, please, you're from Huntsville. You're not about to fight.
So I've been in some fights. So I'm at the red light and he's coming by and because mom was like, what are you doing? And I said, I want to look at his face. Like I need to look at him.
Fresh.
And he's looking at me. I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. First of all, he don't have a reason to look at me. I wasn't the one who honked the horn, but that's why I was saying I regret not giving him one of these. That's what I was saying.
Listen,
I regret
you have a reason
so bad.
to not look at him because we're in Atlanta and people are crazy. They will chase you down for a look, for a honk. You don't know if that means you gave him the middle finger and he would shoot at you.
That's why I said, and that's what she said. She was like, Shari, you gotta be Deanna's nodding her head. Like, yes. Here's the thing. This is why I say I agree with you. I actually think that you're right. But when I broke it down in my mind later, I realized that sometimes I regret, it's going to sound crazy. Sometimes I regret not doing the mean thing. I do. I do. Because even now when I think about it today, even though I agreed with you, we had that conversation, still when I wake up in the morning, I say, I wish I would have flicked him off.
Shari,
I wanted to give him a face full. I don't care.
Stop.
If I'm being honest about my feelings, I do wish I would have done that.
And I'm so glad you said your feelings, because feelings are fickle.
I know, but that's why I said you're right. I'm just saying I know how I felt.
But what I'm saying is the fact that you're waking up in the morning and you're thinking about it, that is problematic for me. Because here's my thing. What difference would it have made that he would have gotten the stare only or the combo stare middle finger? What difference would it have made?
I wanted him to feel the type of way.
How do you know what he feels like? Because he's never going to get to tell you anyway.
I don't know, but I feel like he should have known how I felt.
Oh, he knew how you felt because you stared him down.
But also, let me say this. I don't wake up.
You just wanted to one-up him with the middle finger because y'all were staring each other down.
And did. And you know what? Wait. You said something key because, yes, it was very one-up. Because he was staring at me, I wanted him to maybe like glance and see that I'm like this because that's what I was doing. But because he was staring at me too, I said, Shari, you knew you should have done the middle finger.
Let me tell you something.
But let me clear this up.
Go ahead.
I don't wake up every morning thinking about it. It's just when I'm just existing and alive, I think about everything all the time. So it's like I just be replaying things or just sometimes thinking about life. So it may cross my mind and I say, yeah, I should have gave that man the middle finger.
I'm so glad you said thinking about life because you could have very well saved your own life by not giving him the middle finger.
And that's why I say I agree with you, but I have a thing where I just sometimes regret not doing the mean thing. Case in point, from I don't care if she hear me say her name.
I wanted to give you my road rage experience based on that. So that, and then you can tell us about Misty. Here's the thing. I was in Huntsville driving on, I think it was Maston Lake, headed to the Walmart. And I can't remember. I think the people cut me off or something. And I literally just gave them a look. It was a guy and a girl. I think the girl was driving. The guy was in the passenger seat. I had two places to go. Walmart and Taco Bell.
We weren't with you?
You were not with me.
Okay, because you told me the story, but
if I was with people, I probably would have felt more supported. I was alone. Okay? So I'm driving. All I did was look like, what you doing? You know, people have a lot of courage when they in their car, right?
Window rolled
up. I get my first stop is Walmart. The Taco Bell is up on the parkway to the right. I see that they're kind of moving as I'm moving. I get to the left lane. I turn my blinker on, and they turn their blinker on. I said, "Oh, if they think I'm about to go and park at Walmart and they jump me, they got another thing coming." So I ended up doing a maneuver. They went into Walmart, and I kept straight and went to the Taco Bell. So I'm like, "Whew, so much for that." I turn into the Taco Bell. I order my food. You can't tell me nothing. Ain't nothing like when you about to eat the food that you were waiting to eat.
Please.
I drive around. Who is at the end of the driveway? Those two.
Waiting for you at the
parked. Like, you can't get through this driveway without getting through us. And then so by the time I get to the next window, the guy's trying to hand me my food. I said, they've been following me. Like, I don't know why I'm telling them as if they're going to help me. I'm like, yeah,
I'm at Taco Bell. I'm just here so I don't get
and then he's at the and then one of them get out the car like, what? And I'm like, there's not a problem.
Right.
There's not a problem at this part.
Getting out of the car is crazy though, because it's like, what if you don't get out of your car? Then what are they gonna do? You know what I mean?
Technically, if I was really crazy, I could have put that sucker in drive and just hit their car. Yeah. Like before they
boom.
Before they got out. But I'm like, all I wanted to do was go to Walmart and Taco Bell. Needless to say, when I was like, there's not a problem, they finally drove off. But like, that was something from a simple look, and you're trying to do a look and a flick off.
That's my thing, and because I want to be clear, I agree with you safety-wise, but I would be lying if I didn't think about it. I'd be lying if I said, like, oh, no, I'm just glad I didn't do it. I'm mad that I didn't do it.
So let's settle here with this.
But I have a thing of, like, forever... It's just certain stuff I look back on and I'm like, I wish I would have done the main thing.
I think that's a human thing. People do that. I just would rather it stay as a thought than an action.
It's just, I feel it forever. And the reason why, for example, like the situation I'm about to talk about, I honestly, I hope she watches this.
That's
how much I feel
what's
her.
crazy is
I was like,
she said
16.
first and last name. Go ahead, go
was
for
the
it.
definition of entitlement. Like this was an employee at my school. This was the
Where I worked,
PE coach. Like you just never see more entitlement on a human being. How old was I? I had to have been like 17. So this is like,
was this your senior year?
Math. Yeah.
We're not good at mental math. About to count with our fingers.
I wish I never apologized to her.
Ooh.
And it's because I'm just going to be honest. I don't care if you're like an authority figure, an adult or whatever. You don't get to lie to anyone. I was in the performing arts department at my school. We would get let out late sometimes. We have to change and our teacher wouldn't be there to open our dressing room. The PE coaches have master keys to our dressing room so they could be able to open it for us. Like, and I knew this because my mom worked at the school. She had a master key. I know that the master keys open all the doors. She doesn't know that I know that. We're walking by. We're like, oh, do you mind opening this up for us? She said, I don't have that key. I said, you're lying.
Tell us the issue with time. Tell them the time
Mind
constraint.
you, we have 5 minutes between classes. The bell had, I think, already rung at this point. We have to hurry up.
They still got to go change. Mm-hmm.
Yes, like, and we've just danced. I'm not nasty, so I'm definitely gonna be wiping down and doing this. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna have time to do it. Here's my thing. It was the fact that she lied. I said, you're definitely lying to us. And I said, and you think you can get away with lying to us because we're the students and you think that we don't know. My key doesn't work on that door. I said, I know you have the master key. I know it works. And just be honest. And she said, I don't feel comfortable opening another teacher's door. I said, and that's fine. That's actually your prerogative. Like you could say, I don't want to open another teacher's door. We couldn't say one thing. But don't lie to me and say you don't have the key when I know that you do.
Mercy.
It ended up just kind of escalating. And my dance teacher was like, you need to apologize. And eventually I did. And I'm not kidding. It's been 8 years we said, I don't know. Since that day, I regret saying sorry. Because she was, her lying. I'm like, you were wrong for that. If you were to have, if she were to have come in and say, I just don't feel comfortable opening another teacher's door, we could have been irritated, but that's her right.
Right.
But she thought because we're students and she thinks we don't know and she thinks we don't have a clue. I had the clue and I knew. So it's like, no, just say the truth. So to this day, I regret saying sorry. I wish I never did.
So let me ask you this question. So tell me this. Do you think that you are a bit of a grudge holder?
I do hold a grudge.
Shari.
But I will say this.
You cannot let people live rent free in your head.
Well, no,
it's
not like a grudge like, oh, I'm just carrying it around every single day and I just really feel a type of way. It's more so when things come up, it doesn't change that I wish I acted differently, even if it's in like the reverse. Like most people might say, like for situations that somebody wishes they did something differently, it's typically like, oh, I wish I would have said sorry for this, or I wish I would have done it.
Right.
And I could actually have those moments too. But when I look at situations when I was younger, because that's what it is, I speak up a lot more now than I did when I was younger.
So you feel like she was probably trying to take advantage of the fact that she had a position of authority?
It was a power imbalance. And you know how I am about power imbalances and people like misusing authority, even if it's in a small way. Any misuse of authority, it really bugs me and it sticks with me forever. I literally won't forget that. So I think it's stuff like that. It's stuff that like when it comes to like my, not compass of justice. My
compass of justice sounds pretty good.
Compass of justice. Your
COJ.
When that's what it is. I have a really strong sense of justice. So when it's something that pricks at that, I'm like, no, I'll never forget that. Like, and I feel like in that moment, she knew that she was a teacher and she was speaking to another teacher who was speaking to a student, and they knew that they could get me to say sorry.
She could use her authority in her position. So tell me this: if you were to see her like out in the street somewhere and she spoke to you, would you speak to her? I
would pay her absolute dust.
See, because when it's a grudge, it's like a visceral reaction, like something physically comes over you, where it's
perhaps, but it's. I'll say this: if I did see her out in public, I don't think I would see her in like I'm getting fired up and angry. It's more so like I know exactly who you are and how you are, and I would never have anything to do with you in life.
So because even if she spoke, you're like, I don't have any words for you.
I have no words for her. That's not the first time I've seen her. She could have, but it's none of my business. That's
sure, you're just shooting each arrow. Because every time I'm bringing one out, y'all, pew, pew.
That's not the first time I've seen her act like that. That's why. That's not the first time I've just seen her like do stuff where I'm like, as an adult, you shouldn't be doing that just because you're the adult and we're the students. Like,
I agree. I agree with that part.
So it's like, I'm very good off of her. And if she spoke, I would pay her dust because I don't have anything to do with her.
You would pay her dust. So suppose she came over to you and apologized.
Then that's great. And we could move forward. I mean, we don't have any interaction in life.
Yeah,
so
but if
it
she
doesn't really,
apologized,
like-
you would give her that opportunity to like, oh, okay, like accept her apology.
she probably don't even remember that or
Yeah,
remember
but I'm
me.
just saying randomly.
If it was just some random thing, like sure, but I don't have. She's acted like
The
that
next time you
multiple
see her
times.
again, you'd pay her
I would
dust.
pay her absolutely. No, I'm just kidding. If she apologized, and this is like in a random world, like in what world is she remembering this small interaction and coming and apologizing to me? It's actually something very minute. It's not so serious to where like we have to have perpetual beef. It's just enough to where I'm like, oh, I don't really have any respect for her because I've seen her act this way multiple times. And that's because my principle is I don't have respect for any authority figure who abuses their power, even in the small ways. I just don't. Everything you say after that is moot to me.
So tell me this.
cooked.
This is what I was thinking about as you were talking. Where do you think that came from? That, look at me sounding like I'm interviewing you.
Right?
That deep passion that you have for justice and for like, I will not stand for anybody doing me wrong.
I don't even know. It's just there's always been something in me. It's typically
Like, what's your earliest memory of like that feeling where something was in you? Because you're right. To your point, like when Shari was young, like she was just very much so. I mean, I still think you got some people pleasing in you, but it's in a different. It manifests itself in a different way.
way differently.
Like it's on your terms. You just like to please people. You know, like if
I want
people are
people
in
to
your
feel
space,
good and be happy.
you want them to
and-
feel good and be happy.
You're right. It so is on my terms.
It's on your
now.
terms.
It used to
Like-
be to my detriment.
It used to be to your.
It'll
detriment.
never be to my detriment again.
Right.
ever.
That changed.
That
but
ship has sailed.
so yeah, I'm just wondering, like, if you remember the time where, because you know, Shari was always like pretty much easygoing. She's gonna go with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if anything, I'm having to protect her to make sure people are not taking advantage of her.
But like Auntie Charlene says, like, get my timing wrong. Get my timing wrong because
Ooh, child.
even though I don't it's so weird because I feel like I speak up more now, but when
For
I was
sure.
younger, I used to speak up less but crash out more. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Like when I was younger, it used to be more like happy go lucky, crash out a lot more. But now it's like when I'm older, it's but honestly still happy go lucky, but I just will like say stuff more. But not in a crash out way.
Yeah, you know why? It kind of just reminds me of like when they say a pressure cooker, you know. Before you were things would build
Just keep stuff
from
in.
the outside looking in, it looks like everything is fine. But then let somebody get your timer on, pop, and then
screaming, jumping out of moving cars.
y'all jumping out of moving cars is crazy but true.
But to make it to put more detail to that, the car wasn't going fast. The car was slowing down, as a matter of fact. That's the only reason why I was okay with doing it, because we were pulling up into a parking lot.
And she was so ready to get out of that situation.
Yeah.
It's almost like something happens in your brain where you're like, I don't care about anything right now.
My flight is on is next level. I can still assess danger to a degree though, because even though I got out of that car, I'm not even kidding you, the car was
So you
literally
assessed
going
your
like
tuck
this.
and roll.
I didn't have to tuck nor roll. I literally stepped out and there was no...
Doom, doom.
It was maybe a little something, I don't know. But I could assess, like if that car was going fast, I would have never even tried that. It was because the car was slowing down and I
So
said, well,
you were
I'm
like,
getting
you'd
outta here.
assess, this car is going slow enough for me to make my
I
jump
said,
right
I'm
now.
out of here. I'm out of here.
This is my thing. And I just believe that, you know how people are all about, I'm going to match your energy. Don't get me wrong. If my life is in danger, if my, my family, my friends, my loved ones, then for sure, I'm going to step up, do whatever I got to do to protect my family. But if something is to the point where like people are getting a little like, hold on now, you crossed the line here, but we're not necessarily in danger or you haven't harmed anyone.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to decompress the situation, like
To de-escalate.
De-escalate.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, what sense does it make for both of us to be up here? And I don't know if that just comes from my experience being an educator, because honestly, I would have lost my job a long time ago if I did not learn how to de-escalate. I just feel like, and that could just be the way I was raised, you know. My mom and dad, polar opposites. My father was like, somebody hit you, you punch them in the nose.
That's where I get it from.
My mom was, if something happens, you tell your teacher. And I'm like, Mom, telling the teacher does not work.
It sure doesn't.
Nobody cares. You end up being called a snitch. And
it
by
sure
the
does
way,
not
let me clear
work.
something up about snitch. If you look up the definition of snitch or a snitch.
Oh yeah.
Snitches are people who are a part of it. Like whatever the shenanigans were, whatever you did that was wrong, you were with the group of people, and then once they pulled you to the side or you went and told on them and you were a part of it. If you had nothing to do with it and you weren't in the side of wrong and you tell, that's technically not considered snitching.
And I'll tell you this, because me and Sydney have talked about this. I think me and you have talked about this. Don't commit no crime around me because I'm singing like a canary. And if you, and don't tell me about a crime you committed, because anything the police don't even have to do so much as breathe near me and I'm spilling the beans because I'm never going to jail for a single soul.
Because I love my freedom.
Are you joking?
And here's the flip side of it. People are like, you wrong. How are you going to tell on them? How are they going to not say anything and put me in a position to go down and have to go to jail? Like, I think it's like a twisted sense.
It is.
You know, we talk about, you know, I know there are people in certain areas where it literally is life and death, you know.
Yes.
If they snitch, they don't know if they're going to make it home.
There's certainly a cultural aspect to
I
that.
do understand that cultural aspect, but like that thing has to be flipped.
I think also when it comes to that, like I said, even though there's a cultural aspect, a lot of people are trying to apply that to a situation where this is not what's happening though.
This is not what's happening.
That exists in certain communities and in certain spaces. And I don't know what that's like. So I actually can't even speak to their experience and how they feel or judge them for it.
This was a really weird situation I had one time in my classroom. We would always get into deep talks. You know, I'm a science teacher, but I'm a science teacher by trade. But I'm all about kids' lives and making sure that I'm empowering them because I want them to be able to make good choices. I've given them everything they need to be successful. Back when I was in the classroom, we were talking about the whole concept of snitching. And, you know, these kids, do you remember this?
I wasn't there, but you told me about this conversation.
Where it was like, you had people with like real strong, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you know my memory, I'll be forgetting. But they were real strong about snitching and you're not supposed to snitch. That's code. My family, the way I was raised, we were told. And I know a lot of people were raised that way. And let me just, a disclaimer here. Just because you were raised a certain way doesn't mean it was right. You know,
that is so true.
It could simply mean that your situation, your family, parents did the best they could with what they had, survival mode, whatever, what have you. But we're having this full-on conversation about snitching. Majority of the kids are like, oh, no. And because I think I asked the question, if somebody was killed and you knew who did it, would you tell? And a lot of those kids in there said they wouldn't. But what was deep was,
I can't even imagine.
Shortly thereafter, there was a student that raised her hand and she said, that's my story. My brother was shot and killed. It happened. I forgot what date it happened. Some time had passed and we still don't know who killed him. And we know people know and we can't get closure. Like literally when she said that, you could hear a pin drop in the classroom because it was the perfect example of here is somebody that is actually living the very thing that I was trying to explain to you.
Yeah.
Set them free. Like they are now like, yes, they have to make some decisions about their grief, but it would certainly help if they had some closure about justice was served. So I think that's a huge piece we have to be careful in. And I learned this growing up. My parents, especially my mom, you know, she's the one that raised me. That's why I say especially love both my parents. But the things that she taught me as I got older, I had to make some decisions for myself and say, you know what? My mom taught me this and this was great. And there's some other things that she told me. But when I got older, I had to make choices for myself. Right. Not that she was teaching me anything wrong, but it could just be things that her perspective, her generation.
It's like okay to change, really. That's really what it boils down to. Like, it's just so okay to change.
It's okay to change.
I will say this. The only time I'm not snitching is if it has to do with like...
come on. Say it. Say it.
Because I think you know.
I was going to say, I'm not snitching if they come and looking for kids who are
immigrants. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
For immigrants? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely not.
Immigrants
I don't know them.
protected.
I never heard of them. You can't give me this. When it comes to like my moral compass and like things that, because here's the thing, legality does not equal morality. So if it's going against, right, legality does not equal morality. So if it's something that's going against my morals, like let's say we were like at a protest and they said identify these people, I've never seen those people in my life. How about that? And actually, and the reason why is because you could take me too. you're rounding everybody up to go to jail.
That's
One thing
right.
about me, I'll say I'll go to jail behind a cause. Behind a
Behind a
cause.
cause. And here's the thing, to your point,
I'll do it.
legality doesn't equate morality. When you think about slavery, it was legal at some point.
Exactly.
And you know, we go back to that good trouble. People use it a lot, but really, like, I had to learn that. Like, with the way my mom raised me, it was so careful in that. Don't get in trouble and follow the law and this and that. And I had to evolve to, yeah, I'm not looking for trouble, but when it comes to good trouble, like
when it comes to good trouble,
and to me, it's anything that's a humanitarian issue, I don't care.
yeah, you could never get me to snitch behind that.
Right,
you could never.
Right. When it has to do with human rights and human life,
you'll never get me to snitch behind that.
For sure.
Because I'm willing to go down for that. I would be willing to go down for that at any moment.
I know you. I know you would. And just make sure you have your
That's
bail
why
money.
when I went to that Atlanta protest, you were like, Shari, because you know how I
Ooh, when what was his name? George
you were
Floyd.
So scared. Yeah, this was
I would've went
around
with
that time.
you.
This was during 2020. You could. There was a reason why you
I
couldn't
can tell
go.
you, I had
forgot.
a meeting
because
with
I
my
wanted you to come.
Yeah,
with
you
me.
wanted me to come, but that was when everything was virtual, and I had a meeting with my team because we were still choosing candidates to be part of this program that I was the coordinator over.
Yes.
And
you were
so-
over it, so you couldn't even.
so I couldn't even go.
Yeah. And I
But
said, child, I go by myself.
Here's
child.
what's so interesting. In that moment, Shari, like, that's why being a parent, you'll always be a parent.
Yeah.
Like, in that moment, I was so proud of you because you were standing up for something you believe in. First of all, if you've never been to
always
Atlanta,
will.
to say you're gonna go downtown to Atlanta to a protest, it's a lot.
No, you could have stopped at to say you're going to downtown Atlanta.
Going
You could have
downtown
stopped
Atlanta.
there. That's already
Right. And then you talking about for a protest, and it's just a lot of moving parts if you don't already know the spots and her going by herself. And so
Yeah, I met friends there, but I traveled there by myself.
Yes, and
I
it was
didn't.
one of those things like
Yeah.
I was like, man, I really want to go, but I can't go. I'm not going to keep her from going. And that's one thing about,
you never tried to convince me out of it ever.
That's one of the things, like, and at that point you were in your 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I think parents miss that. Like, at this age, there are different
22.
stages. And she's an adult. We have a friendship. Yes, I'm still her mom. But also, I have to give her room to do what she's doing. What you saying?
Because we friends.
Yes, like people. I think the
We
levels
are.
are like discipline. That's when you're like 0 to 5, where you're trying to teach them right from wrong, and then there's
Right.
training. I think that's like 6 to 12 or 6 to 11, where you're literally trying to train them to do certain things. Then there's
Yeah.
coaching. You're kind of standing on the sidelines. You're watching some things. Then you bring them back. What did you think about that? That goes to, I think, age. Why are you looking at me like
You're
that?
breaking this down so well off the dome.
Well, I've done some research on this.
Please, you just
And
like
then, it's coaching. And when you're coaching, you're not playing the game. You're just watching them, cheering them on. You're seeing their failures, helping them unpack it. Console
send them
to
back
see
out
what
into the game.
Send them back out into the game. Go get them. Go get them.
Yes.
Right. And so by the time you hit 18 and up, that stage is called friendship. And so, but it's touching you. Okay. And me and her always have a joke, like, because we get along so well, every now and then I'll be like, I'm still your mama.
Because it's the quintessential like black mom, like, I ain't one of your little friends.
I ain't
But then
one of
she
your
be
little
like,
friends
we
now.
friends, but I ain't one of your little friends.
Yeah,
like
but
it,
but people talk about boundaries. You got to know the boundaries with that. But at the end of the day, especially when I was doing that research, it really affirmed kind of how I didn't realize I had been moving. And it also helped me pull back a little bit more. Because for the most part, I don't know, you would have to speak to that. Do I tell you what to do? And you always say, go ahead.
You, as time has gone on, you've made a conscious effort to try to like assess how. That's one thing, because I'm just gonna sing your praises real quick.
Aw.
I just say I'm gonna do that. One thing that I appreciate about you as a parent, I feel like a lot of people have kids and they're like, well, I'm a parent and there's no rule book on parenting, and they leave it at that, right? But you treat it as a practice the same way that like doctors treat medicine as a practice.
That's right.
Like you go back to the drawing board, you do research and you think about things and you run things
You have
by
to make
us
some
and
adjustments.
yeah, like you consistently change. There are some foundational things that have stayed the same, but though that's like the good stuff. That's like, no, this has worked and this has been consistent. Like, oh my gosh, like that text you sent to LJ, you said you will go in that store. If you want to cook, you will go in that store and pick out the ingredients just like your big sisters did.
Just
I'm
like your big sisters
and I know
did.
that's right. But
That's the principle.
you treat it as a practice where you constantly go back to the drawing board. You'll run stuff by me. You're like, okay, so how does this sound? Like you don't treat it as just like this passive thing. It's like, well, I had kids, therefore parent, and that's just what I am regardless of what I do.
Right.
It's like a a constant quest to like be a better parent. You do that.
Right. And that's, and see, at the end of the day, I'm not the boss of you. You know what I'm saying?
You don't treat us like we're just an extension of you.
Right.
Like,
I don't own you.
Yes.
And I think that, I do think, and if parents are listening, you got to hear it. Like, and it's hard because we love y'all so much. Because you know what I always say? When you have children and they get older and they go away from you, it's like pieces of your heart just moving through this world.
You always say
and
that.
You want to talk about standing 10 toes down, ready to give somebody a middle finger and fight somebody. Off my kids, it's like you don't want anybody to hurt them or harm them. But there's a delicate balance with you don't, but you still have to let them live their lives, because if you don't, that's also unfair to them. And then sometimes there are some kids being compliant, but they're not necessarily happy because they don't want to upset their parents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like you're the only one that has to live your life.
Right. You're the one that has to live your life. So I truly believe, especially at this stage in our lives, we get along very well. We always have. And I think we both have always known our roles. I'm your mom. You're my daughter. But yet the older you get, our conversations change. We're having more mature conversations. And it's so funny. There for a minute, I remember when you were trying to assert your own authority over your own life.
When?
There were times I had to tell you, like, Shari, it's okay. Like, you are an adult. You can make these decisions.
Oh yeah, it's because
saying that?
I will still constantly like
It happens during pivotal times, like when you went away to college. You know, not so much your first year, but after that, like I would have to remind you, like, because I could see, I'm like, this is a moment that she's trying to assert her own independence. That's the word I'm looking for.
And it's like I not that I'm calling you for every single thing, but it's like something happening. And I'm like, well, let me just call mom and just see. And you're like, remember that it's your life and that you actually can't. You still do it to this day. Like, I'm like, well, mom, like, for example, I was like, we were rearranging my room at y'all's house back when I lived with y'all. And I wanted to put my bed in the corner. And I was like, well, does bed in the corner, like, give kids? Like, that's what kids do. You said grown people do whatever they want. And I said, you're right. You're right. Like, you will remind me, like,
and even though you were living with me, like, you are a full adult. But sometimes I say it in the midst of our conversation where I could have started a little bit leaning towards being a mom. And then I have to check myself. I'm like,
you're good for a course correct.
Yes, I will course correct
so
a minute. I'm like,
you
know what, Shari? Right now, I can see what's happening here. You're trying to assert yourself and your independence.
Let them.
That's what you say. Let them.
But sometimes you say it in like a shady way, like the other day. Like,
no, but like I really mean it. Like, let me let you do what you feel like is best. Yeah. And I know that there's a part of you, because you trust me. It's like you want to be able to feel like, okay, is mom actually good?
Because you're a sounding board for me for sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. It also happened when you moved into this house. That was a huge time of you having to realize, like, girl, this is your house. You can do whatever it is you want to do.
Yes, like it's up to me.
But then there are other times where you'll be like freaking out. Mom, why'd you close that door? Shari, I just closed the door.
Right.
No, why'd you open
get up?
it?
I'll be like, what bathroom you better walk into? Like, I'm like, clocking you on.
Shari, I promise you, this is your house.
I'm clocking you.
Just tell me what room you want me to go. Tell me what doors you want to open.
Yeah.
But to me, it was you kind of like overdoing it. Because you still wanted, even though I wasn't like taking over, but you just wanted to
never gave take over.
Yeah, but you still wanted to make sure you like held your own.
Yeah. Like, this is my space and where are you walking?
And I'm like, am I allowed to like?
But I'm always clocking what you're doing. I'm like, where are you about to go? What you about to do? I'm coming with you.
I turn on the TV. What are you about to watch? I just want to watch TV in peace.
I'm sorry.
Like, sometimes I don't know
why
what
I need
to
to play
watch.
by play from you. I don't know why.
Wait, sometimes I don't know what to watch, and now it's pressure.
I am so sorry for that. I'm so sorry.
So does that mean it's gonna stop?
Yes.
ASAP?
I'm gonna be conscious of that.
This is a good time for our audience question.
Oh, okay, because I was seeing stuff. I'm like, what is Deani sending? Okay, so this person says, I know my mom means well, but she always has an opinion on how I should handle my life, my job, my relationships, my parenting. Sometimes it feels like she doesn't trust me to make my own decisions. How can I set boundaries without making her feel like I don't appreciate her?
I think you could start with that because
I could, Because let me also say, I'll say this in addition to this. I've been rewatching Real Housewives of Atlanta. I'm, for whatever reason, I'm talking about it every second of every day. You came in and it's the first thing I said.
Right.
Anyway, I was looking back on like Candy Burris' relationship with her mom. Yes. When it came to her relationship with Todd, her mom just had a lot to say that was really damaging to not only Todd, but like to their relationship in
marriage,
general.
yeah.
But Candy would always say, well, that's my mom. Like, what do you expect me to say? Like, I'm not going to disrespect my mom. And I think a lot of people automatically conflate setting a boundary with your parent to disrespect, because a lot of parents do not raise their kids to feel comfortable, like even making a boundary.
This is true.
Like a child having a boundary, people don't respond
Especially in
well.
our culture.
Yes.
Because part of we brag about our culture and what, what we say to the kids.
And black
children,
children are not allowed to have boundaries. So when I see stuff like that, I used to sometimes be like, well, just like say whatever. But I'm like, no, I can see why you're in that mindset, because as a kid, like a lot of black children are not given the option to have a boundary or to say no, or to like, there's a family member like, go hug them. Like they could say no though. Like they have the agency to do
especially
it.
culturally. Oh wow. You know, like I'm thinking about the Haitian culture.
Yes.
It wasn't just hugging.
Kiss
Every
them
new
on the
person you
cheek.
met, you had to kiss them on the cheek.
So when I like watching that back, it just kind of set me right back into it. I'm like, wow, like we really do see setting a boundary with the parent. Like automatically she saw it as disrespecting her mom. And it's like, you could say like, at least for me personally, like she has opinions about this, that, and the third. Let's say it's too much for you. I feel like it may not feel simple, but sometimes it's something like, this is how I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I appreciate that you're trying to have input, but I can't handle you doing this and that and the third all the time. And if you were to continue, we may not be able to have the same kind of relationship, or I would be affected. Or
see, what you just said, I think is the reason why sometimes children are afraid to set the boundary, because they're afraid of the consequences. And when I say consequences, here's the questions I have. Does she live with said parent?
Because that's a
because
whole other layer.
Don't get me wrong. When you live with the parent, as a parent, I don't think that I have the right, just because you live with me, to constantly remind you that you living with me, as if you can't do anything. You can. Yeah, I want you to expect. I want you to respect. Like, don't be coming to my house all time of night. You know, I'm up late. I'm stressed about where you are. I'm not talking about that, but that kind of gives the parent a little bit more leverage, and also makes the child feel as if they can't kick against the prick because, you know, my parent's going to kick me out, or I at least they're letting me stay there.
There's like a level of control that the parent has.
Here's what I would say. I would say this to this particular person, especially if you have a parent, when you've tried to set boundaries before, you can't just get it out. It sounds simple, but simply just like writing a letter or a text, something where you get to get everything out. Like, mom, like you get to do all the preludes. I love you. I appreciate all you've done for me. But as it relates to this, here's what's happening. Here's how it makes me feel. And then the boundary.
Yes.
Which is, in the future, if you continue to X, Y, and Z, then I won't be able to X, Y, and Z
anymore.
That is what gets them.
Yes.
But you got to be willing to follow through. Because if you don't follow through, then it was not a boundary. All you did was you set the boundary, then you picked it up and moved it.
You just said some stuff, really.
You just said some stuff.
Yeah.
And to this day, I will say this. I wish I had set some boundaries when I was raising you guys with grandma, you know?
Yes.
As it relates to the rules. And, you know, I got married when I was 21. I think I had your sister when I was 24 going on 25.
Wow.
And so
I can't even imagine.
Basically, if one of them was in trouble and they were in punishment at my house and they were spending the weekend at grandma's house, I'm dropping off for the first time saying, all right, listen, you know, she can't watch TV, or and then the first time I did that, she's looking at me like, that's your rules, not mine.
Right.
And see, I was in a vulnerable situation then, because I didn't always send y'all there. Y'all always wanted to go there. And I didn't have a problem sending y'all there, but I'm the type of person, I want to raise my kids the way I was raised, you know, not somebody else raising them. And so when she said that, it kind of took me aback. Like, I didn't expect her to not support. Like, I thought we were in this together. She did X, Y, Z. Can you please support that? She's like, no, that's your punishment, not mine. At that moment, the boundary I should have set was, if you cannot follow the rules that I have for my children that are important to me and to their character and who they are, then I can't bring them over.
Yeah.
Me saying this right now,
Yeah.
I'm imagining 24-year-old Rachel. I never would have said
You
that.
never would have said it.
And I didn't say it because I felt like when you set a boundary, you got to be willing to accept the consequences, which could be a fallout.
Yeah.
And I needed support.
I was about to say, she was a part of your village, so it makes it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it was part of my village. So that's why
Yeah.
I said in the case of this person who's asking this question, if you live with them, that makes it hard too.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think there's something to be said about honoring yourself.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you could feel guilty, like now my mom is mad or my dad is mad because I tried to set a boundary. I'm going to tell y'all what my therapist told me. You cannot be concerned with how people feel as it relates to the boundaries that you set to protect yourself. I will sing that from the mountaintops. It has been a game changer for me. It doesn't mean you walk around not caring about people, but a boundary is the distance that you need to be from me so I can still love me and love you.
Yes.
Period.
Yes. I think also, like, to add on to that, like you said, people are concerned about the fallout and what's going to happen. But Auntie Heidi said something really key to me the other day when I hung out with her, because I was describing a situation in which somebody didn't want to do something because they thought it was just going to be too much for them. But also, if they didn't do said thing, they were still going to struggle in other ways. And Auntie Heidi was like, well, you're paying for it either way. So you either choose to pay for it on one end or the other. Like, you're going to...
It's still going to be a cost.
Yeah, you're going to pay for it regardless. So it's like, if you don't... Oh, we have to wrap it up.
Oh, did you want us to answer the next question or no?
This was the
Okay.
one. But no, I liked how you worded everything. How your like whole like boundary letter and your whole like that could be an outline. Like you just spoke in outline. Like that's what you just did.
Honey.
I said mumbo jumbo. You made it into an
I
outline.
hope you guys enjoyed that.
This is So Tell Me This Sundays, and we'll see y'all next Sunday.
Bye.